On April 1st, 2026, a luxury expedition cruise ship departed from the southern Argentine city of Ushuaia. On board were nearly 150 passengers and crew members from 23 different countries. Their destination was one of the most remote and breathtaking regions on Earth, Antarctica and the isolated islands of the South Atlantic. At first, everything felt perfect. Passengers spent their days watching glaciers, photographing penguins, attending elegant dinners, and dancing at late-night parties. Friendships formed quickly. The atmosphere was full of excitement and adventure. Nobody on that ship had any idea that the journey would soon become a nightmare. 5 days into the expedition, a 70-year-old Dutch passenger suddenly developed a fever and severe headache. At first, it looked like a normal flu. He also suffered from mild diarrhea, so he visited the ship's doctor. The doctor prescribed basic medication and advised him to rest. But within 2 days, the man's condition became terrifyingly worse. He began struggling to breathe. His oxygen levels dropped rapidly. Then, on April 11th, the cruise captain made a chilling announcement. "We regret to inform you that one of our passengers has passed away." Panic spread briefly across the ship, but because nobody knew the cause of death, most passengers eventually returned to socializing and enjoying the trip. They had no idea the virus had already begun spreading among them. On April 24th, the ship docked at the remote Atlantic island of St. Helena. The dead passenger's wife disembarked with her husband's body and traveled onward toward South Africa. The next day, she was preparing to board a flight from South Africa to Amsterdam when disaster struck. Without warning, she collapsed inside the airport. Medical teams rushed to help her, but her condition deteriorated rapidly. On April 26th, she died. Now the situation became impossible to ignore. Back on the cruise ship, more passengers started falling ill. High fevers, headaches, violent coughing, difficulty breathing. Then, on April 28th, a German woman became critically sick. 4 days later, on May 2nd, she too was dead. 3 mysterious deaths. 1 isolated ship. No answers. That same day, the situation was finally reported to the World Health Organization. Emergency testing began immediately. And then came the horrifying diagnosis. A deadly virus with no approved cure, no globally approved vaccine, and a mortality rate so high that nearly half of infected patients can die. Suddenly, the cruise ship became an international crisis, floating in the middle of the ocean. Countries began refusing permission for the vessel to dock. Health authorities feared the worst. News headlines exploded across the world. Mystery virus outbreak on cruise ship. Deadly hantavirus fears rise. Is this the next pandemic? But the terrifying truth was that hantavirus was not new at all. Scientists had known about it for decades. Hantavirus is actually a family of viruses carried primarily by rodents. Different rodents carried different strains. Humans usually become infected after inhaling tiny particles contaminated by rat or mouse urine, saliva, or droppings. The disease can attack the body in 2 horrifying ways. In Europe and Asia, it often causes a condition called hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, a disease where the kidneys begin failing and internal bleeding starts. In North and South America, another form appears, Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. This version attacks the lungs. Fluid begins filling the lungs until the victim slowly suffocates. Its mortality rate can reach nearly 50%. And despite decades of research, there is still no universally approved cure. Doctors can only provide supportive treatment while the patient's immune system fights for survival. The modern story of hantavirus first emerged during the Korean War. Thousands of soldiers fighting in Korea suddenly developed a strange illness: high fever, vomiting, kidney failure, internal bleeding. More than 3,000 troops became sick. At first, military doctors feared it might even be a biological weapon. But it took nearly 30 years before South Korean scientist Ho Wang Lee finally identified the virus and named it after the Hantan River. Years later, in 1993, another terrifying outbreak shocked the United States. In the American Southwest, several young and healthy members of the Navajo Nation suddenly died within days of each other. Victims first developed flu-like symptoms, then their lungs rapidly filled with fluid. Many suffocated to death. At the beginning of the outbreak, nearly 75% of infected patients died. Scientists were desperate for answers. Then Navajo tribal elders shared something extraordinary. For generations, their oral history had warned that after unusually heavy rainfall, rodent populations exploded because food became abundant. More rodents meant more disease. Scientists later confirmed they were right. The outbreak was connected to a major El Niño weather event that caused increased rainfall, food growth, and a massive boom in mouse populations. More mice, more virus, more human infections. For many years, scientists believed hantavirus could only spread from rodents to humans. But in 1996, an outbreak in southern Argentina shattered that assumption. Researchers discovered a dangerous strain called the Andes virus. Unlike other hantaviruses, this strain could spread from human to human through prolonged close contact. Not through the air, like COVID-19, not across long distances, but through intimate exposure, shared beds, bodily fluids, or extended close care. And that was the exact strain suspected on the cruise ship. Investigators later discovered that before boarding the vessel, the Dutch couple had joined a birdwatching tour near a rodent-infested landfill outside Ushuaia. Somehow, they became infected there. Then they returned directly to the ship during the virus's short transmission window, and the outbreak began. By May 10th, 10 confirmed cases had appeared on board. 3 people were dead. Several others had been medically evacuated to hospitals across Spain, Netherlands, Switzerland, and South Africa. For days, the cruise ship remained stranded near the coast of Cape Verde because countries feared allowing it into port. Eventually, Spain granted emergency docking permission at Tenerife. Passengers were evacuated under strict medical supervision. Around the world, one terrifying question spread faster than the virus itself. Experts say the chances are low. Unlike COVID-19, hantavirus does not spread easily through the air. Its human transmission window is extremely short, and close physical contact is usually required. That makes large-scale worldwide spread much less likely. Still, scientists warn that climate changes linked to stronger El Niño events could increase rodent populations in many parts of the world. And wherever rodents thrive, hantavirus can follow. The scariest part is that this virus has likely existed silently for centuries. Most people simply never noticed it. Until now. Today, awareness is the best defense. Seal homes against rodents. Store food properly. Wear masks and gloves in rodent-infested areas. Avoid direct contact with droppings or contaminated dust, because once symptoms become severe, there may be very little modern medicine can do, and somewhere in the cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean, a cruise ship became proof that sometimes humanity's deadliest enemies are not monsters we can see, but invisible viruses waiting silently in the shadows.